Well, hello and everyone, and thank you for coming to the 5G Learn and Drive event. We're gonna walk you through 5G and give you a chance to talk about your applications and applications in the 5G area. Before we begin, I'd just like to point out that this event is being recorded, and so that we will be publishing on the 5G website and other channels the video if people want to come back and look through it. It's an interactive session in the second half, and so please feel free to contribute as much as possible. And if you have questions that are going on that come up during the webinar, there's a question and answer chat box on the Zoom interface, and we'll be happy to try and answer pertinent questions as we go forward. Finally, we will all be muted except for the person who's speaking. What we're going to do is we're going to go through 5G just to tell you a little bit about the project. So our coordinator Mauro Baldi will give us an introduction to what's going on and what we've been doing. We're going to look at the architecture from with Pablo Serrano from UC3M, and we're going to look at the funding opportunities in the domain for 5G and beyond with Maurizio Cecchi from Innovation Pew. And finally, Manuel Lorenzo from Ericsson is going to give you a little bit of an idea of how you can get involved with some of the test beds in the 5G area, in particular, how you can get connected to 5G. And in the second session, we're actually going to give you guys all the opportunity to express yourself, and we're going to meet from 6 SMEs that are going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing in the 5G area, and then we're all going to get a ride in a Lamborghini, correct, Pasquale? No, I'm just kidding. So without further ado, I'm actually gonna give the floor to our fearless leader. Fearless is Mauro Baldi from Telecom Italia, who's the 5G EVE coordinator. So Mauro, please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I hope you can see now, probably. I hope you can see my screen and you can hear me well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I will give you, as Richard was anticipating, a short overview of the 5G project. I'm Mauro Baldi from Telecom Italia Innovation Department, and I'm the project coordinator of 5G EVE. So what is 5G EVE? 5G EVE is a very large project, actually. It started almost 3 years ago now. We are coming to an end. The end of the project is set on June this year. But we are committed in the sustainability of the project, so don't be afraid. We won't disappear even after the end of the project itself. As you may see from this picture, we are covering almost all Europe with our partners. in particular with our 4 sites that are located in Italy, in Turin in particular, Telecom Italia labs, in Spain with the Photonic environment and other places as well, France with many locations in Paris, in Sofia Antipoli, and in Greece, essentially in Athens. We have in all these countries an operator, Telecom Italia in Italy, Orange in France, Telefonica in Spain, OTE in Greece, and a set of partners that are all committed to the implementation of experimental platforms for the evaluation of innovative features of 5G. As well as these partners, we have a set of verticals, as we call them, so industries that are not in the telecommunications arena, but that are interested in the deployment and in the innovative features of 5G. And then we have a set of SMEs. You are probably mostly interested in this aspect because we think that, of course, the growth and the expansion of the small enterprises are very important for us as well. So what is 5G in a nutshell? So essentially when we started, as I said, almost 3 years ago, there was a little bit of lack of dialogue between the industrial verticals, as I call them, and the 5G world. So we implemented platforms to create a sort of liaison between these industrial needs on one end and the 5G technologies on the other end. How we did that? Essentially creating a platform that is represented very schematically in this slide. The platform is based as a first step on the 5G portal. That is a web application that can be run in the cloud and that has a lot of tools that can allow the experimenter to access the platform environment in a very easy way, actually, because we introduced this as the so-called intent-based mode. So you can very easily say, I'd like to do this in this way, in this framework, in this time, and so on. Below this platform, there is what we call the 5G interworking framework. That is a very important orchestrator, let me call it this way, even if it is not properly an orchestrator, because actually it is an orchestrator of orchestrators. So you can see that inside it there are the many different boxes, the catalog of the sites, the inventory, the runtime configurator, and so on. Going to lower layers, we go to the actual site implementations with the management and orchestration, this time in the real meaning of this word, the control data, and at the end, the physical infrastructure. So the real implementation of the experimental facilities in the 4 sites that we have all over Europe, as I told you earlier. So essentially, the innovations that we have addressed are very easily represented in this slide, in this chart. So I have already told about the intent-based towards the verticals, the multi-domain slicing and orchestration. You know that slicing is a very innovative feature of 5G. Obviously, we are not yet based on 5G core due to the standardization evolutionary path in this period, but we have some solutions that we can quite easily call slice-based. We are also very proud for the point number 3 in our project, because the performance diagnostics and in particular the monitoring platform and whatever is related to the to the measurement of the performances that you can achieve through the platform, but obviously based on 5G, is a very distinctive feature of our project. And in the implementation, we have also quite a lot of openness. So we have solutions that are different side by side, but some of them we can quite easily say that they are open solutions. So the roadmap, we are coming to an end, so I won't spend so much time on this, but essentially to tell you that we have used an approach that was based as quite easily understandable on the specification and planning first, and then on deployment and execution. As said, we are now finalizing the upgrade of the platform. In particular, now we are working on the multi-site experimental facility. So the opportunity of running a test that is based not only on a single site, I mean in Italy or in Spain, but concurrently in more than one site. And as you may see in the bottom part of this slide, during the implementation of this roadmap, we listened to other projects, obviously, but also to SMEs like you in the past, asking them what was their preference to use the platform, how to use it, and so on. Very quickly, a short glance to the 4 sites, starting from France in alphabetical order, let me say. As you may see, all the sites are related to the 5G portal and are related to the interworking framework. Here you may also see that site facilities based on multiple locations, each location based on different features, some of them also open, as you may see. Then you have a short glance to the Greek site. As you may see, it's quite similar. Also here we are running some important use cases with Nokia, Ericsson based facilities, but also Wings based facilities. So also here you may see that we have replicated that feature of our platform in a single site. Then this site, as the others, is connected to the interworking framework that, by the way, is based in Italy, in Turin. Here we have a very short glance as well to the Spanish facility. For what regards Spain, as said, we are based essentially on the Pythonic initiative. That is an initiative based on a set of partners in Madrid working on innovative features for 5G web. And also here we are experimenting some specific use cases on the infrastructure that is provided by Pythonic, but also by Telefonica and so on. And finally, the Italian side, so it's not properly alphabetical order, but due to the fact that in Italy, as well as having use cases validation, as well as having a platform like the other facilities, we have also this interworking framework that is based in Turin, and that is a sort of central core part of our platform. So I was very quick, but just to give you a general idea on the fact that we have deployed facilities and interconnections, I will say almost all over Europe, to allow a lot of industries and industry families, let me say, like those that are represented in this table, to run their experimental activity. And not only those that are in 5G that experimented their work in our platform, but also those that are in other projects. And in those projects, there are other SMEs. So our openness to the SMEs is represented by the fact that we are working in 5G, but also in connection with other projects. So thanks a lot for listening. Here there is a list of contacts. Many of them are here today as attendant of this session, and you will have presentation later on more in details on some specific features of the project. Thanks a lot for listening, and
Thank you very much, Mauro. That was a great introduction, and really lets people know how we plan to provide and 10 test beds across Europe. Now we're going to go into a little bit more detail about how that architecture can be used by SMEs to perform experiments and provide validation tests on 5G applications that they're building. And Pablo Serrano from the Universidad Carlos III from Madrid is going to walk us through that. So Pablo, thanks a lot. The floor is yours.
Okay, now unmuted. Hi everybody. Thanks, Richard. So I guess you can see my screen, right, in full screen mode. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, I'm an associate professor at Universidad Carlos III de Madrid in Spanish. Sounds more familiar to me. And the idea is to give a brief introduction on how we have designed in this project the architecture, taking into account all the requirements. What Mauro was mentioning is not only about the functionality, the 5G functionality, but also is to be able to support experimentation across multiple sites, but also across different type of players in the ecosystem. So it's not only to implement the different features that we want to implement, but also how we can integrate into the same workflow the various different roles that we have in the deployment of a given vertical. So basically, I will walk you through the following outline. I'll talk a bit about the different roles that we have identified in the project, and then how these roles interact in what we have called the testing cycle, which is also gonna let me talk a bit about the information model that we have specified. And the idea is that this information model was also inspired by the different roles that we have identified in the ecosystem. And then I'll present how the architecture that we have designed and implemented support running these test cycles by the different roles considered. So to that, I'll go through a workflow to a toy example on how this platform can be used to deploy and test and run and analyze the results from various experiments. So starting with the roles in 5G, we have defined the following roles from top to bottom. First of all, we have the vertical, which is the one providing the service or defining the service. That this is the service that I want to test in a given site. And this vertical may have also, because a given service may have different software modules, it's responsible to bring in with a provider of this virtual network function, a provider of the software that has to be run in the site. Then this vertical is defining the high-level visual of the service, but then to get into the details, we have the experiment developer. So this experiment developer sits between the site themselves and the vertical. So he has to know both how to define a service and the infrastructure and the capabilities of the service. And this experiment developer specifies the various blueprints, the various information models that will technically detail what is a service and the different tests that we want to run this service in, the different contexts required, and the type of analysis that we want to do later on. But this is a designer, the experiment developer. The role actually running the experiments is what we have called the experimenter. And well, this role is responsible to execute and assess how the service went. So starting from these blueprints, then he'll choose among the different blueprints defined by the developer, request to run a given experiment and analyze the results from that experiment. And finally, we have the site manager, the various site managers, one or more for each of the sites, which are the one responsible for managing the infrastructure and also participating in this dialogue when defining the experiments to let the developer what can and cannot be done in the infrastructure. And these roles can be more or less matched to the testing cycle that we have defined. So first of all, we need to define what is the design of this experiment. And in this design, we have the 4 roles participating, from the vertical to the developer, to the experiment executioner, to the site manager. But once the design is done, when we have specified the different blueprints, from the first point on, for the rest of the testing cycle, the preparation is the experiment and the site manager. And then the rest of the other 2 steps, the execution, the monitoring of this execution of the experiment and the analysis of the results, it's the experimenter, the one driving the execution. So of course, this experiment design is the most critical, as this one is defining the service and what can be done with this service and in which circumstances we want to test this service. So this first step, the experiment design, it's basically when you design everything, like the components that you want to have in the service, the circumstances in which you want to run it, and how this execution has to be performed, the different steps to run your experiments. So these experiment designs involve the definition of the network functions, the DNFs, and how they are interconnected, the uploading of the network functions through the portal to the site or sites that you want to run your experiment in. Also, if you have, we support some common metrics to gather after you execute your experiment, but if you have ad hoc metrics that you want to collect, of course, you have to define them in this dialogue with the site managers to check how you want to gather, I don't know, the video quality or the movement of your robots and so on. And of course, in this experiment design, all this information has to result in the various blueprints that now I'll briefly introduce. That is the service blueprints, the context blueprints, and so on. So the blueprints, well, these are the different templates that you have to define to specify what is your service, the vertical service blueprint, in which context you want to run the blueprint. So the first one is about the components and how you interconnect them, the context, whether you want to test under a given radio conditions, running, I don't know, with the server located closer or farther from where you're running the experiments, the test case, well, the steps that you need to run to execute your experiments and where are the parameters, and with the network service description with the details on the interconnection of the different service functions. All these constitute what is the experiment blueprint. That is, this definition is led by the experimenter. And once we have this defined for a given service, then, well, it's straightforward to keep on running at different steps of the experiment by the experimenter. One key feature of what we have done in the project is that all these different roles that I have been talking about, from the vertical to the experimenter, to the developer, to the site manager, are interacting with the different sites that you have in the bottom of the picture. If you're talking about a site in Italy, in Spain, in France, or in Greece, the idea is that you have, the result that we have achieved in this project is that you have a single point, a single entrance, a single front end for all these different roles to interact with the different components of our architecture. So I will not run into the details, but for instance, if you want to define a service, you need to interconnect software components, virtual network functions that are available in a given catalog. This is this box over here that is connecting with the vertical service blueprints or the experiment context blueprints, the descriptions, and so on. Also, if you're running experiments across multiple sites, there is this other box in blue, the interworking layer, that it's supporting the different features that you need to run to make 2 different sites to talk together. So you have this orchestrator of orchestration that Mauro was mentioning about that needs to coordinate the orchestration across the multiple sites. And also if you have different metrics, ad hoc metrics that you want to run your experiments and to collect specific performance evaluations, well, you also need to place them in the so-called data shippers at the different facilities so that later on they can be integrated in our common metric architecture. So to remind you, on the testing cycle, we have this first step, which is the definition of the experiments, all these various blueprints. And then the rest of the steps are to prepare the execution of the experiment in coordination with the site manager, to actually execute and monitor that everything is going as expected, and then to analyze the results. And now I'm gonna give you a glimpse on how this is done in our platform. So the idea is that when you connect to our platform, to the web page, basically once you log in with your user and password, you are given access to this first web page in which you have basically 4 different big buttons: to design experiment, to request the execution, to manage the given experiments, or for site managers to manage the site. So if we're talking about this first step to design your experiment, well, you need to specify an environment, one of these environments to develop this design, and then to design your experiments either using the available tools or by custom application. To define the various blueprints for the service, how the VNFs are connected, the exact type of VNFs that you want to use, and so on. So for the generation of all these blueprints that I introduced before, you have different buttons in which you specify what is the service, what are the conditions in which you want to run the service, what are the various different test cases that you want to run, and so on. And as in these experiments, you are given a number of parameters, like radio conditions, delay, flavor of the Linux distribution that you want to use. We have also different tools to parameterize these experiments. We're also supporting the intent-based execution of experiments instead of selecting a time slot at a frame. This is supporting more natural language, like I want to run these given experiments at this given date and time. And actually, to schedule your experiment, you need to select this time slot. But of course, you are trying to run an experiment over an infrastructure that is managed by definition by the site manager. So once you have requested the execution of the experiments, if you are requesting some special feature of your facility, like the deployment of certain robots or the availability of a standalone deployment and so on, you need for the environment to be prepared, you need a reaction from the site manager. So you need, So you need to select this time slot, either using this, to parameterize with the wizard and then to select the time slot. Sorry, my mouse is very sensitive, and wait for the environment to be prepared. So to recap the workflow, you have defined you have defined the blueprint, you have defined the service, the network description, and so on, and then you are asking the site manager to execute that given experiment on a given date using a different type of facilities. So this site manager should first ensure that there is no collision with your experiments and other experiments that may run, and prepare the infrastructure accordingly. And once you are given the green light by the site manager, then the experiment, which may involve a number of different test cases, they start running, deployment, launching the deployment of the service and running the experiments, collecting the information, and so on. And again, this can be done with the portal environment, now with the part of managing the experiments. So if you click over there, you will see the status of the different tests that you have requested to run. In this case, we have 2 examples in the Spanish site that they are already instantiated, so they are ready to be executed. And once you are done with the experiments, again, using the portal, you can check the statistics that you define to collect, to compare the KPIs across different experiment settings, that is the different radio conditions, different deployment, different flavors of the VNFs that you have used, and so on. And that would conclude my part to give you this overview on the workflow, the roles, the different information models, and how everything is supported by the architecture.
Thank you very much, Pablo. It's really evident that 5G has a very easy interface for SMEs and other people that want to test their applications. And your presentation was really clear. Of course, there is the question and answer box in the Skype app. I'm sorry, in the Zoom tray. If you do have any particular questions, you can put them in the question and answer section. And a little bit later, we'll hear a little bit more about how people can actually get on and use those applications. But thank you very much, Pablo. That was very clear and really shows the ease and facility of working with the 5G testing applications. Now we're going to hear just a little bit more about the funding opportunities and for 5G applications for SMEs and other companies that want to get on board and test applications. And Maurizio Cecchi from the Associazione Più is going to walk us through some of these funding opportunities and tools. Yeah, so Maurizio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Richard. Hello to everybody. So as was anticipated by Mauro, Richard, of course, the focus of our work is to create this infrastructure to let, advance experiments with 5G technologies, but it's something really open. So one of the objectives of our activity is really to involve other people, especially SMEs, startups. So on one side, as was explained by Pablo on the technical side, but also in terms of future collaboration. So I will talk about the opportunities and how this may be done in the future. So as you see, there is this broad map of the overall program where we participate. It is the 5G public-private initiative. So 5G Eve is one of the infrastructure available, but of course, for the future, any SME is willing to do things, to have action, also to have funding, have all this kind of infrastructure all through Europe. So basically there are three main projects, Vini, and Genesis, and of course, in case of new ideas, there is a real wide set of facility to be used. On the side of, let's say, future programs, as you know, we are belonging to what is called Horizon Europe, that is the 7-year plan of research and innovation initiative of the Commission. But now, starting from 2021, we are entering in the new phase, in the new program that is called Horizon Europe, and that basically has the same condition, opportunities as the previous one, so that it is very, let's say, attractive in terms of funding, because for any kind of cost involving project, for research activities, you will have 100% of the reimbursement of all the cost plus overhead. In case of innovation activities closer to the market, the 70% fund. So in the future, as was done in 5G PPP, as mentioned by Mauro, also in our consortium, there are a lot of SMEs already involved from the beginning, and they got the funding to do these experiments. So we hope that in the future, this will happen also in the next program. Just a very broad idea about the overall framework of Horizon Europe. There is divided what they call pillars, a pillar more on the a science part, so it's more long-term and more visionary, where really there are new ideas in terms of scientific advancement. And the second pillar is more similar to the one where we belong, the 5G PPP, because it's really oriented toward reinforcing European competition, and so innovation in the strength, the competition of Europe in the world. And the third pillar that is more dedicated to public infrastructure, public initiative in the research areas. I cannot go, of course, because of time restraint on all, but I will focus a little bit on the central one, where in the future will be a part dedicated to digital, to ICT technologies that is similar to the one that we participate. But in case of SMEs, would like also to have really more visionary, disruptive ideas in the future. Also, the first pillar on the European Innovation Council is available as opportunity, as funding opportunity. There are specific initiatives that are earmarked for SMEs. So in certain cases, the budget of this initiative are reserved for startup and SMEs. Of course, in this case are more scientific startups, spin-off of university, but with really an openness to new initiative by small companies. If we go more in the domain that are closer to 5G, what are the main technology driver for the future? Of course, are the more advanced one, as zero latency tactile internet, zero touch infrastructure. Of course, a lot of artificial intelligence will be involved on this all kind of this development, and also on the application side. The Internet of Things, of course, the edge native services will be important, neutral services, IoT also in terms of components, and last but not the least, two main drivers that in the past have not been, completely addressed by the first work program are the energy efficiency of all the components platforms initiative that of course are involved with ICT research and security. So network cloud, IoT, also here in terms of security, artificial intelligence will be spread in all the program of the Commission. Then, if we want to go a little more in terms of network, because of course 5G is part of the advancement in the networks, there will be this program that is the Smart Network and Service Program. This will be the evolution of 5G PPP. So all the kind of tool activities, supporting activities related to this, including very good working groups where you can participate directly. All this program will become a smart network and services. And in terms of, let's say, gravity of content, the main change is that all the network size will be seen closer to the sensing side. So before, in Horizon 2020, these two areas were managed in different calls, in different sub-programs. Now, networks and sensors, all the advanced IoT, tactile, internet, as we saw, will be seen as overall and complementary components of the new program. Of course, this is not will be not a standalone activities. All these activities and the next call here is a very complex. I don't want to describe, but we leave all the slides for future, let's say, comprehension and understanding. All these activity run in parallel to all the advancement in the standardization side, in the regulation side, in spectrum efficiency programs and public initiative. And so there is our program really linked to the overall advancement of 5G toward what we call 6G, because at the end is a kind of jargon, but what is going after 5G has this kind of general label, but anyhow is a general advancement of what we are doing. So all this program, as was done in the future, has a part, a legislative package already approved by the parliament, a strategic plan that you can easily find on internet, work program that, as in the past, are going 2 years by 2 years. So there are some draft programs already available, are not public, but will become public very, very soon. And as was done for 5G, there will be call where you as SME, as a startup, can participate directly with a funding related. So just this is not an official, let's say, are not official data, but is what very likely will happen in the first call. As I said, in the specific part on the digital side of of Horizon Europe, that is cluster 4, there is a first call. You can see which kind of areas will be addressed, cloud to edge, data space, a lot, of course, related to big data, quantum communication, advanced digital skill, because also is very important, all the help and support to advance also the skills of the European worker and researcher, and trust in digital information. So will be a very interesting call. I guess, but it's my personal guess, that within the end of April, beginning of May will be published. And there are already 400 millions of euros available to participate. So if you go to internet, to any portal of the Commission, these are very transparent initiative. You can go and participate, and it, of course, will be published in April, and the best guess is the deadline will be in August or September of this year to submit your proposal. So this in terms of general framework of the program. If we go directly in terms of possible collaboration with 5G consortium, with all the corporation, companies, institutions involved, on one side, Pablo already said how you can make the first test and trials with the present actual infrastructure and facilities available, is what was explained by Pablo. But in order to help the collaboration for future initiative, because of course all the companies of 5G will continue this kind of research and innovation activity in the future, there is a specific tool. If you go on the 5G EVE website, it's very easy to find, because you have simply to Google with 5G EVE project. If you go there, in terms of collaboration and events, there is a specific platform that is tailored for this kind of feedback and change. So if you have good ideas for the future, so you have a specific application, of course, where communication technologies are involved, if you need high performance, any kind of 5G, 6G KPIs, you can go there. This is open until the end of June, and submit your ideas. This would help a lot then future collaboration with ourselves in terms of really collaboration for future initiative and future funding. Thank you. This was my presentation, and of course, open to any question afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much, Maurizio. Of course, there is a question and answer chat box down below, and you can put your questions in there as well. There are already several questions in there that we'll deal with in a minute. We would like to let you know that the 5G Eve is kind of an open platform. We have a lot of people coming in and running experiments, and Manuel Lorenzo, who's our technical coordinator, is going to give you a little bit of an idea of how you can get connected to 5G Eve. Yeah. So Manuel, can you tell us a little bit about that? And then we'll move to the question and answers.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. This is Manuel Lorenzo. I'm heading Technology Innovation at Ericsson Spain, and I'm the technical manager for 5G project. I want to connect a number of things that have been commented along the session with practical advice and experience that we have in the collaboration with SMEs. So first of all, if you are an SME, you are a guest speaker today, or attendant, you probably are original enough to have a good use case for your business using and relying on 5G. And you basically have two options. You can start developing that, waiting for some late test before going commercial, assuming some risks, or you can decide to leverage the experience, the assets that we have been commenting. If you are into this second line of working openly with companies who are leaders in this field as the partners in 5G, then what I want to stress is that it is our business in 5G to work with real world innovation that you are creating for a number of vertical segments. This is important because we are supporting you in 4 major countries, and you have the opportunity to play in those markets and with all the suite of technologies that we have available at 5G. And you can do it in a digital way. What Pablo was presenting was a digital platform that allows you to connect your virtualized application to our environment. Then, of course, there is the devices, the 5G devices that you need to complete the end-to-end testing with a full suite of solutions for that. How to do it? I was explaining that it's as easy as connecting to us. You have our contact names, but you have it to I want to work with you. And then you get into our web page. You know the usual stuff. You prove that you're not a robot, pitch your idea, and we will contact you immediately, as we have done with all the projects and companies that have approached 5G. So now is where the fun is starting. If we have a good agreement to start, if you explore the funding opportunities that Mauricio was commenting, or if you have your own funding to start your project, 5G is open for you, and the 5G sites will remain open for you after the actual formal 5G project is over in June. So you don't have to worry about that. You can really engage with us now and complete your innovation cycle with our platform. In the process, the very first thing that we tend to forget is that it is people talking to people what creates innovation, what creates competitive advantage. So we can humbly offer our expertise in a number of use cases we have tested over our platform to support you in making your architectural choices, technology choices, and so on. So if you can benefit from that dialogue, and we can benefit from that dialogue learning on your use case, it's good for all parties. And I think it is important and a good opportunity. I encourage you to do it as soon as possible. If you are interested, then this dialogue can happen very fluidly now with the 5G open project open. Then second point is that you normally will have a preference because of your market or because of the technology supported for one of the sites in the 5G constellation. So it's very good that you will get that you will get in touch with the local teams there in the sites who will make your life easy for planning when you can do scheduling, when you can do your experiments, booking the labs. Our labs are really booked and occupied with a lot of activities every day of the week. So this important aspect is good to take into account from the very beginning. A third point is that if you really want to use the platform and not having to do a lot of traveling or physical presence, please leverage the digital platform, the portal we have, and do it with a basic learning and training that we are offering in our webpage and in our channels, expanding a lot what Pablo presented today. If you really master these simple concepts of templates, blueprints, the KPIs you can select, and how you can launch remotely and fully digitally your experiment, you will gain a lot of time and will complete cycles of innovation very quickly. And finally, once you have done all these steps, architecture, technology, site you want to work with, you're trained to use a platform, then it's about validating your applications over the 5G setup and doing it in a way that you can gain confidence that your project, your product can go to the market in conditions that you know perfectly. And that's why we have a KPI framework that gives all the information about what is happening in your application and in the 5G network concurrently. This is super important. We have to use data and base conclusions on data, and that's an important aspect from 5G platform that is for you. Okay, so apart from that, you can use the 5G platform to showcase what you're doing or to position your company to do more things with the partners of 5G. So summarizing, everything starts with your idea, with your innovation concept. But we have created a powerful platform with the support of the 5G PPP to support you in that journey in 4 major countries in Europe. And we can be connected to you virtually all over the world because we have created this digital platform to support you. And you are most welcome to join in our community. So that's my main message to all people today and who can watch this webinar offline later on.
Thanks a lot, Manuel. This is you did kind of forget one way to test your applications, which is of course in countries like mine in the US or in Great Britain, Korea and China. You can actually go and pay for testing on 5G platforms, but that's very expensive and it's not available to SMEs. You, on the other hand, can do exactly like Manuel was saying and come and look at 5G. As Pablo was describing earlier, we have an easy to use interface. We're already hosting a number of experiments, and these are real robust end-to-end testing infrastructures. So it's in the interest of you to avoid this third possibility, if possible, and come and visit us to do that. We do have a number of open questions in the question and answer box. I'd like Manuel to try and some of them have already. We're trying to answer them in the text box itself in the interest of time, but then we can deal with immediately here. So Manuel, I'll kind of address the questions to you, and you can also bring in some people too. So an open question is ETSI compliant MEC supported by the 5G Eve test beds?
Well, actually, 5G is prepared to work with any orchestration mechanism. So, and it's not a lot of activity to integrate or adapt to it. We are working with a lot of different MEC solutions and standards and technologies in each of the projects we are. In the edge computing space, there's a lot of fragmentation. And what we have secured in the 5G platform design is that it is very easy to plug all of them. And we are using MEC, of course, as one of the options by default, so to say.
We often, when we hear about 5G and implementations, people say, well, is there a real definitive advantage compared to 4G? So we have this question. Specifically, do we have an idea of where this definitive advantage is showing up in 5G? And a second corollary to that question is, when can we expect coverage beyond urban centers for applications, especially in rural or roaming scenarios?
Mm-hmm. Okay, on the first question, okay, I was thinking on the second one. Can you remind me on the first one?
Okay, the first one was, where do you see if you think back to like the 5G PPP KPIs?
Yes, okay, yes, I remember now.
Really see some progress. Where do we see that?
Yes, on the KPIs delivered by 5G technology, and that can be actually measured in 5G platform, there's clear advantages in the usage of the spectrum and a lot of improvement in the latency and a major improvement in uplink bandwidth and downlink bandwidth. So, I mean, that's something that we have even published by 5G, and we are going to do as well with the 5G PPP community as a whole. But the benefit is not something quantitative. The benefit is something for your business. Actually, we have run projects where your use case can be sustainable and work and feasible over 4G. So go and use the LTE infrastructure deployed all over the world. But most times you will find key advantages with 5G having to do with reliability. It is predictable what the latency will be, lower or higher, but it is predictable, and this is fundamental for industry use cases, for instance. And more importantly to me is that what is the best will and support of cloud and virtualization in 4G environments is a must in 5G. So you can leverage that. You can leverage 5G with cloud, and that really changes the game with cloud and with edge, which is a special flavor of cloud computing. So to me, those are the key advantages of 5G that, again, can be more or less relevant depending on your use case.
And the second question is actually quite a different question. It was about coverage in rural areas. And I understand that that's very country specific and market specific. The rollout to 5G, the implementation of 5G infrastructure is probably pretty different. Maybe you can say in Spain what that looks like.
Yes, in all countries, and we should speak about Europe today mainly, there's ongoing auctions on the low band spectrum. This is super important for reaching coverage to more and more areas. It is national plans, as you were saying, Richard, and regulatory plans for it, but the expectation is to cover rural areas much better with 5G than with 4G, because the technology has a lot of potential as well to be more efficient and to have a wider range with better performance. So this is on the national level. The good thing is that you can test this type of things in a lab that 5G, in a facility like 5G, for different spectrum bands. We work a lot with mid bands and with millimeter wave because most of the use case have to do with that. And with low bands, I think there will be more and more activity as 5G deployments, commercial deployments, are advancing.
There's another question regarding the capability of 5G to manage customizable slice management. Does 5G Eve allow the experimenter to manage this slicing, or is it just imposed by 5G Eve? Do we just say, maybe Pablo, you want to answer this question, or?
I mean, I can take it as well, Richard,
okay, sure,
if you want.
Sure.
If you want, slicing is an evolving term, and we are in the deployment of release 15 in 5G, and with some advancements of release 16, and we have deployed both NSA and SA flavors of technology. With that, you can get more or less of the features of slicing that we read in the literature and can be used. But the most important thing is that 5G as a whole, as a platform, is a testing as a service platform. It really creates your environment, your slice for doing your activities in isolation with the rest of the experiments, and very customizable to your demands. And I think this is important. If you are an SME and you want to work directly in a commercial environment, a commercial deployment of 5G, what you see is what you get. You can experiment on what is available in your area of coverage with the technology deployed there. But in a platform like 5G, you can customize and configure the network according to the different conditions that you want to test, so that you can figure out that, okay, my use case will work better with mid-bands, or I should go SA, standalone from the very beginning. You can play with all the configurations. And I think this is a huge advantage of having this type of experimentation platforms, open experimentation platforms for finding out. And with slicing, you can play with several flavors, from network slicing to service slicing, and so on. And depending, of course, on the underlying technology as it is deployed. And of course, Pablo can certainly add something to my comment.
Well, actually, I think it's a pretty good answer. I was checking on the other answers, sorry, on asking for details on the blueprints availability and where to find them. So I wouldn't add much to what you said, Manuel.
Thank you.
Okay, and of course, if you do go to the 5G website, you can find much more detailed technical information on all of the components in 5G, and there are also technical papers that you can download from them, especially on things like the KPI monitoring process and the results achieved. That's all very well documented on the website. There's another question about the orchestration and the overlying orchestration level. How does that communicate with individual testbed orchestration systems across the testbed? Are there specific APIs or plugins to integrate the individual orchestrations, or how does that work?
For the user, for the vertical, actually for the flow, everything starts with SOL 5, ETSI SOL 5 standard, and it's common to all and any of the sites that you want to eventually use. So it's transparent to the experimenter what is happening, what orchestrators you have at each site. The platform takes care for you about that. You just have to stick to a common standard. And actually, that's very important. I didn't remark it, even if I had the note. Everything you design for being tested, for instance, in Italy, you can actually run the same test without rewriting, re-engineering it in Spain or in Greece or in France, because of this open way of working. In general, the platform leverages the good thing that there's several vendors, several technology flavors, but for the experimenter, everything is used in the same way.
Yeah. Okay. So the follow-on question to that is, can you specify particular things like minimum throughput or latency as part of the blueprint that you apply?
Yes, as Pablo was explaining, there's a set of by default KPIs supported by the platform at each site. So you can go pick up and select them, or you can introduce your own metric systems for measuring your KPIs. So it's open in that sense as well, following the same language that is available or you can learn in the training sessions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Manuel.
Thank you.
You've been extremely clear. I think that, and Pablo answering, there are also many written comments to answers in the chat box. you can go look there. Of course, as I said before, the 5G website is just a treasure trove of information on technical information as well. So go check that out, and you can contact any of us. There's also contact information for more details or how to get involved in the 5G test bed area. I'm sorry, in the 5G in the 5G project as well, or as Maurizio was saying, with further follow-on opportunities, you can go on the UNoodle platform and get involved with us and some of the other SMEs that are in our ecosystem in the project. What I'd like to do now is actually go to some of the SMEs that are doing this, that are here today, see what they're doing, and get a little bit more insight as to how projects like 5G and how the 5G paradigm is working for them. So what we're going to do, this is an interactive session, and you can go to the Mural. I'm not sure if you all know the Mural application. I'd invite you to go to the link in the chat that you see there, and move to the mural. So if you see the link, you can go there. If you just walked in, I've sent it again there, so you can go there now. We'll give you 1 minute to see if you can all get there. And what we are going to do is we're going to look at six SMEs that are actually involved in this area, and we're going to talk a bit about that. And we are going to get your opinion as the complete audience about applications and business models that are accompanying this. So my colleague Alessandra Massaro has prepared the mural that you see, and I see a number of people already there. Alessandra, can you introduce Mural?
Sure. So if everybody is there, I will also share my screen so that if you have troubles in seeing the screen, you can just look at my screen. So this is basically the Mural board. This is a digital board that is used for interactive sessions. So on the right-hand side, you will see the outline of the document. So if you click on each title, you will be redirected to the specific area of the board. So you will have on the left-hand side, you will have an overview of the objective of this session. So to gather your feedback and SMEs feedback on specific questions that we have prepared. We have the description of this second session, which will be divided into steps. The first one giving a little bit of space to the SMEs to share their experience, and a second one in which we will gather a little bit more your feedback through some more questions and voting, and of course some brainstorming guidelines. So we really encourage you to write down your ideas and to share your questions for a successful interaction. As you can see here in the different quadrants, you will have the possibility to drag and drop some post-its and write in the post-its as well. So you will see that it's quite easy to use. So you just click on the post-it and you write inside. while you will have already, for example, in quadrant 3, already some post-its there. So you just click on it and you write down your text. So,
and you can zoom in.
Exactly.
Out.
Exactly. You can zoom in and zoom out, so the text will appear a little bit more clear for you, as you can see in while I'm sharing the screen. And Richard will guide you through the different questions. Back to you.
So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to give some of you guys the chance to talk and to present yourselves. So the first person is Miguel Barriero from Simfo. They're a company that's deploying software stack to the edge, and they're already working with Telefonica on the test bed. Miguel, if you want to take the screen, you can present I think you want to show a very short video and maybe even talk over it. They're doing some really cool stuff. So Miguel, tell us a little bit about Simfo and your 5G applications.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm Miguel Barriero. I'm the CTO of Simfo. We're a Spain-based company. And for the past 5 years, we've been specializing on intelligent video solutions. So one thing we have been doing for this time is video production from the cloud, either automatic or semi-automatic. I'm showing you a very brief video on what I'm talking about. Basically, using several cameras on a sports venue or on a theater, we are tracking the actors, the players. For example, in the case of a video of a football match, we are tracking the players, we are tracking the ball, we are tracking their positions, the way they move, and then we decide how to aim the cameras, how to move the cameras, and how to switch cameras. We are automatically producing handball, basketball, football, water polo, etc., quite a few other sports. And of course, the solution is slightly different for every sport, but the basic solution is the same. So until now, I mean, before 4G, we have been dependent on a good quality network connection. This is what we achieve using a fiber connection. So in this example, this is a local basketball court. There we have, I think, 4 or 5 cameras, and we achieve 1 second glass to glass. This is 1 second from the camera to the final video reproduction. Okay. Everything is happening on the cloud. So what we have done is we have replaced the traditional production crew with OB-WAN, with a satellite uplink, etc., with only maybe no people local at the venue, simply 3, 4, 5 cameras, fixed IP cameras, and a network connection, and everything is software running on the cloud. And of course, this same crew can still manually manage the cameras, and they can still manually insert highlights or whatever if they want, or otherwise they can leave that task up to the AI. Okay, the thing with AI, with 5G, is for the first time, we don't have to rely on a high bandwidth connection. And up until now, we have been depending on fiber connection or a very high quality cable connection. With 5G, we have been collaborating with Telefonica and Ericsson on several use cases. And well, I would like to share, okay, one very quick picture of this is a real installation yesterday. This is a stadium here. I would like to say third division, but sadly no longer. This is a local stadium. In a 5G test bed, we have deployed IP cameras, all connected to Telefonica-owned testing network using Ericsson equipment. We have been testing 3.5 gigahertz and now 26 gigahertz network. But now we are producing live content from the cloud, but using the edge. So instead of producing live video using software infrastructure on Amazon or on our own data center, instead of that, we are using the edge infrastructure in a Telefonica cell. Okay, so we are achieving this same low 10th second latency glass to glass, and we don't depend on any external provider. There is no dependency on any external fixed infrastructure. And latency is especially important when operators want to manually manage cameras, because you need the optical feedback. I'm moving the camera, but where is the camera actually aiming at? And latency is also very important when you have a commentator. So it's a usual case in sport. You have live video from the venue and you have a commentator. You need very low latency, otherwise he's commenting on the past. Okay, so with 5G, first we have low latency. Second, we have high bandwidth, ubiquitous connectivity. And third, and maybe the most important for us, is if we have access to the edge data center, then we can seriously optimize our use case. I think it's a real driver for 5G operators. Yeah,
I mean, it looks like you are the poster child for 5G test cases, and I see you're very deeply involved already with our partners in 5G. We want to see you though on the 5G test bed. So
definitely interested in that.
Come and try it there too, and Manuel will make sure that he chases you until he gets you on there. I'd like to move to the next to Correct Networks. Costin Raisu is going to tell us a little bit about how they're using 5G and how it's changing the way they do business.
Thank you, Richard. Well, in our case, we're actually trying to enable cool services, cool 5G services, rather than using them. So we're more of an infrastructure company. We're actually a spin-off of University Politehnica Bucharest. And our goal is to basically help operators be able to manage these clouds that they are deploying as a part of 5G and to make the most out of them, right? So the observation is that, all operators that are moving to 5G are deploying these fairly large data centers to cope with running their own network functions like the 5G core, and also to run VMs for others, right, to make money out of them. And first of all, running a cloud is not exactly a core thing that operators have done until now. And there are some very specific challenges that companies that today run public clouds like Microsoft and Facebook and Google, whatever, these guys have taken 15 years to master these challenges. And now operators, they'll have to jump in at the deep end and run these clouds, possibly, obviously at smaller scales, but still we're talking thousands of machines or more. So the first observation is that, how do you help operators smoothly run these clouds such that they don't have huge headaches with unreliability and performance issues? And that's what we're trying to do. So we're building a product line aimed at becoming a sort of a management and performance plane for these networks that helps operators understand whether the performance is good or not, and if there is a problem, it basically tries to pinpoint what the problem is. And this is so this is coming directly from research. So we've had successful research in the area of network verification. We're one of the leading groups in this space, and we're basically trying to take some of this work and turn it into production. So that's one sort of direction, and the other direction is to trying to make virtualization more efficient. So we all know virtualization and virtual machines and OpenStack, and the assumption is that when you run a cloud in the 5G network, you'll just use OpenStack or something similar. But we also know that these things are really slow. Like if you want to boot a VM, it will take, I don't know, minutes, right? So then if I tell you, well, if you want to support 1 million customers and give them each a VM, how will you do it? And the operator will say, well, I have no idea, because even starting those is challenging, and I will have to have so many machines to host those that probably I won't even go there. I won't try to sell this much compute capacity, and that's a big shame, because, well, why not? You have all of these customers already that are your subscribers, and you could offer them compute, and maybe most of them would actually need this compute, but you can't do it because, well, it's just too expensive. So the second thing that we're trying to do is to come up with a way of taking the results from research recently that have shown that booting a VM and starting a VM can be done in milliseconds, right? And take these and turn it into a product that operators can use to be able to not offer, let's say, 50 VMs per machine, but maybe offer 5,000 VMs per machine to customers. And the key idea is that you don't have to keep these VMs running all the time. You can just start them and stop them when traffic comes, right? And because you can start and stop so quickly, everybody has the illusion that the VMs are running all the time. But what happens in practice is that there's constant, on and off. So as I said, this, we're an infrastructure provider company for 5G clouds. And in terms of business model, well, actually, this is our business model, right? So we're trying to become one of the key infrastructure providers for 5G networks and help operators make the best of this hardware that they are deploying. And yeah, let's see if we can manage to do that. So we have a very promising collaboration with Orange here in Romania and some trial deployments. And we'll after this, we're planning to scale that out, but this is already ongoing.
And as a company, how long have you guys been active?
We've been active for 4 years, so this is our 5th year, but we ramped up really slowly. So it took some time to try to understand which of our research ideas from the research group made sense. So in the first couple of years, we basically just did sort of market research and trying to understand what was going on rather than actually try and build something.
So you weren't selling too many applications. So you don't have a 4G, 5G migration question. You're 5G native.
Roughly, I mean, for the stuff that we're doing with Orange, we're also targeting their 4G network, but this is more of a stepping stone rather than something that will make it into production. So probably by the time we actually deploy things in the use case we're building now with them, probably it's going to be a full 5G network. Okay,
thanks a lot, Costin. Pasquale, we have Pasquale Maresco from Biologics, who is a company that's doing microcontrollers and the software to manage them for mostly for autonomous vehicles. Tell us a little bit about Biologics and your 5G involvement, Pasquale.
Yes, thanks, Richard. Thanks to all. Just to share with you my screen in order to no, my mail. Sorry, my screen in order to show also the video that explain what we do and what you can able to present in order to be part of this meeting. Biologics is a small medium enterprise founded in 2007. We work on embedded system. It means that we start from hardware design. We deliver also software, and we also follow the VMV and functional safety services. We work mainly on the automotive sector, of course, but we are able to provide services on the industrial and railway sector. The video that I can show is our autonomous vehicle. This project start in 2014, and nowadays a running prototype able to perform L3 autonomous vehicle according to SAE classification. Is already present in several meetings, national and international, and nowadays one of the components that will be used on a European project called Fiji YANA that is close to what the Fiji HEAV is want to perform. This means that will be one of the demonstrator that we're using during the project. Our goal is to perform this vehicle also in 5G network environment. This means that we want to increase the intelligence of the vehicle, adding different sensors that can install it in the car, but also outside the car. So the communication V2V, V2E will be the basic information that we want to guarantee to the car to be more and more able to perform their task, and several information that can be collected from outside the vehicle. 5G is for us a component that will be complete part of R&D that we already follow. We start with some public funding here in Piedmont region to perform an hardware able to collect the data in a 5G network. As you know, maybe you don't know, Torino is one of the Italian city selected in to be test bed for 5G network communication. So team is one of the leaders, of course, of this test bed. We try to understand how to perform our autonomous driving technology to 5G into 5G network. There is some not technological trouble, but bureaucratic trouble. I mean, regulation. In Italy, car that are autonomous cars not allowed to go in a public road without government authorization. There is a lot of discussion about that, but we try to understand with the ministry, infrastructure ministry and innovation ministry, how to manage this solution. Nowadays, we are able to perform L3 and L4 autonomous classification with an hardware software infrastructure in this vehicle. It's an electric vehicle. It's one of the 4 autonomous vehicle already present in Italy, and it could be, of course, in using other project for like a test bed. It's a lab, of course. It's a lab that we able and we are able to install these several sensors. We know very well all the electrical architecture, and then we can manage hardware and software parts to integrate several hardware sensor, whatever is needed to increase the potential performance of this car. We want to also part of next call and we try to understand which is the best solution in terms of increase our knowledge, increase the performance of this car. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm able, of course, to answer to your question and to participate activity on the meeting. Thank you.
Being in Torino, I saw the car that you showed us. It didn't look like a Fiat, though.
No, it's a Citroen Meari. Maybe you know the Meari performed in 1918s. Better, it was a funny car. I mean, Renault and Citroen republished this car, electric one, with all the in plastic, not metal, all plastic. So to decrease the weight of the car and increase the performance of electric powertrain. It's a funny car, of course. It's just for fun. It's not for ride a long trip, but useful to make some good experiment.
Sure. I was just kidding. Who are your clients, though?
Well, basically, our clients are tier 1 in the automotive sector that are directly connected with a car maker that want to realize new prototype of car.
So you're working with them directly in the development phases of...
Yes, of course. We are able to host also vehicle in our building. This means that we completely provide to our client key services in terms of hardware and software and integration on the car. We provide also electronic competence in terms to connect the components inside the car. And it is interesting in order to we follow all the vehicle from scratch to the final product. We also able to provide some component not for massive production, but for small production, 3,000 vehicles more or less.
So the advent of 5G is probably not changing too much your business model, as you have a direct relationship with them and are co-developing vehicles, but it's probably changing your product. I mean, the latency and the throughput probably offer you a serious new advances. Is that true?
I agree with you, Richard. In our sector, the basic, the importance of the latency is irrelevant. I mean, in other system, you know, the safety and the security of the car will be more and more important. If you talk about autonomous car, we need to completely believe in the technologies, because if the technology fail, the car crash, and in some cases there is some damage, not only physical but also personal damage. If the 5G network could be a good solution, and the next one, 6, 7G, to increase the potential of the data in terms of new information for the car to take decision in a smaller time as possible. If I know there is some other car on the street or whatever is the new information that I can get from outside, it could be a good point, a starting point in order to increase security and safety.
Yeah, so if the people in this session go and look at Biologics, they'll see that there is autonomous Lamborghini being described. And I was saying to Pasquale that I actually don't want my Lamborghini to be autonomous. I want to drive it. So.
I totally agree. Totally agree. In some specific sector, so hypercar and supercar. Also, the electric one is not a good solution. I mean, I want to listen the sound of the Lamborghini, Maserati, Ferrari, whatever, is because it's part of the flavor of the experience.
Yeah, I don't think my next car will be an electric Lamborghini anyway.
Yeah, I don't think so, Mike.
Thank you very much, Pasquale.
You're welcome. What a pleasure.
Next, I'd like to go over to Ciprian Comasa from Interact. They're working on edge computing paradigms that are leveraging 5G. Ciprian, you want to go ahead and tell us a bit about Interact?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for thank you for the introduction. Essentially, we have this initiative with the Interact, also coming out of the university, Technical University of Iași, and of course with the support of Orange Romania. So the idea behind here is to provide efficiency on the one hand, and safety on the other hand, functions for traffic management and for traffic participants. Okay, we have good synergies here, thinking about the connectivity side, so with Orange Romania, but also we have good synergies with Continental Automotive that they are interested in such kind of developments. Okay, we are, let's say, a young initiative, so we are tackling this for about 6 months. And of course, the idea is to have a combination of edge processing by meaning really in the intersection with 5G edge processing, such that to find the right balance between processing and communication, let's say, to find the right trade-off. Okay, so this is pretty much the idea behind. I can develop if needed. Yeah.
Why do you need 5G to? I mean, I'm thinking most of the traffic control network is on already on the fiber network cable. Why would you need to move to wireless, and what is the advantage of 5G for you guys?
Okay, so let's say the scenario is a little bit more complex, including communication between or the collaboration between traffic participants and the infrastructure, the intersection itself.
So cars.
Yeah, cars, and also vulnerable road users like pedestrians, bicyclists, yeah, and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, and here essentially, I mean, for the efficiency functions, the latency is not that critical, but for safety applications, really the latency is critical. And if we put also into this picture the fact that using cameras, you need to run behind some AI algorithms, some computer vision algorithms, then yeah, for this you need computing power, and of course you can do something on the spot with devices like NVIDIA Jetson, but it's kind of limited.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And who's actually paying for it? I mean, I know you're just coming out of the university. You've been alive for 6 months. Good luck. I hope things go right. But who's paying for it now, and who's going to be paying for it in a couple of years?
Yeah. Okay. So so right now we have 2 research grants, national research grants, but further on. Definitely, we would need to get into a collaboration with either, let's say, from the automotive industry side, like Continental, or also another possible partner is from the traffic management infrastructure side, like Sorco, for instance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, that it sounds really promising, and of course, you're applying it locally, but you expect to try and promote your products through networks like Continental.
Yeah,
across Europe. Yeah, cool, excellent. Thank you very much, Ciprian. I'd like to go over to Eduardo Blanco from Extreme. They're doing software to manage low latency automation in the cultural domain most over. Eduardo, can you tell us a little bit about that and how you're using 5G and how the 5G is changing what you're doing?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank to Paco, Alessandra, Richard, and the IBC team for inviting me to this event and allowing us to share with you what we think about 5G technology. We are a company based on Spain, a software development company, and our business focus are health, financial, and agricultural sectors. Over the last years, we have created an R&D department specialized in digitalization and data mining in agricultural and healthcare sectors. Well, in these sectors, we thought that 5G technology promised to be a revolution. We have two projects. One of them in the agricultural sector, we have Orange as a partner and other partners from public and private environment. And we are trying to bring 5G technologies to all of the agricultural sector, the irrigated agricultural sector. In our zone, it's very important. This sector is one of the economical sectors of the region. And why 5G? Because you may think that in the field, in the agricultural, you have Wi-Fi, you have 3G, you have LoRa. But we thought that this is a sector which is in the past, and we want to bring in, to take the future here. The 5G will take technologies like autonomous vehicles. Until now, you can't do that with 3G technologies, but we will have people working from his house, and with a pad, they can send orders to the vehicles, and the vehicles will run over the field and do the work. It have to work, and with sensors. So we want to digitalize the total sector with sensors, with technology, and bringing the future. In the health sector, we have a lot of problems here because we have depopulated zones, and it's difficult to bring a good healthcare system to that zones. With 5G, we can bring, we can have doctors who can operate remotely, so they don't have to transfer to that location. So it will be cheap for the administration to take the health to that sector. The most important features that 5G technology will provide to our company are the low latency, because that will cost in the agricultural sector to allow industrial vehicles autonomous. And as I said, in the most populated regions, will bring a health service to near the health service to them. Another of the most important features is the number of devices that can be connected at the same time. We thought that with a node or a transmission node station, which can have a radius of 7.5 or 5 kilometers, we will have 40,000 hectares of crops with 5G coverage. This is enormous. This could bring the technology with a facility. As I saw before in a question, when will 5G arrive in the rural areas? As you said, there are low band frequencies that will make this easy. And in rural areas, we need this because we haven't got good communications. And 5G will bring us the solution, the perfect solution, because it will be a good solution for people and a good solution for enterprises. In my opinion, 5G technology is not a technology or a revolution centered on communications between people, but to a machine-machine or machine-to-person communications. Little by little, robotization will spread. And sometimes it will be autonomous, but in other many occasions, it will be operated by people. We can only make this if we have real-time transmissions. And this only can be with 5G.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, so it seems like you guys, as far as the 5G PPP KPIs are considered, have a real focus on density of the networks. But I would also say probably with the lower energy consumption KPIs, with the being things like the agricultural domain and healthcare reliant on IoT, the device connection, probably that's interesting to you as well.
Yes. We have a problem in our zone, and it's that in the agricultural zones, if you make a study, you have the 70% of the population, and it's rural population. So if we can bring the 5G, we will bring the 5G to all of the people, 70% of the people of our region. So we feel it's important for AIT, for the people, for autonomous vehicles. It will be a revolution for all of the sectors.
You have a big responsibility, because in Extremadura, you are the owners of the Tempranillo grape variety, and that's really important. If you guys ruin the the grape production of that wine, the rest of the world will be really upset. So hope you get that right. I'd like to move also to another Spanish SME in Novalia, who is represented by Oscar Lazaro here today. And Oscar's already working on a number of use cases, already demonstrating 5G. Can you tell us what Innovalia is doing, and Oscar?
Yeah, hello, Richard, and thank you all for giving us the opportunity to participate today in this event. Let me, Richard, just start by explaining a little bit what Innovalia is, which are our areas of business, and which business unit is actually engaging in this type of 5G experimentation. In the Innovalia group, we have two areas of activity. So one is dealing with digital technologies, then we have another one that is more focused on Industry 4.0, particularly in quality control. And this issue of understanding how digital transformation will basically impact how people, machines, and products will interact with each other by introducing this digital technology is what is driving our interest in 5G. In fact, if I can share the screen, Richard, just let me share very quickly the screen and show you a little video of what we are doing already in a European initiative that is called 5 Growth, where we are taking advantage of the 5G infrastructure really to understand what is the implication in terms of transformation of our business model when we are trying to connect our equipment and our services with our customers in the many sectors that we have to provide the service with. So what we are trying really to understand is what the opportunity lies behind the use of 5G when we are trying to break the space and time barrier between our engineers, our service support team, and the many machines that we have rolled out all over the world. So basically what we are developing in this 5G experimentation is how we can actually support the connected worker interacting with the equipment that is delivered all over the world. And in this first set of experiments, what we are actually doing is basically Richard to engage in evaluation of implications for deploying our services in the 5G infrastructure, basically in the edge, so in the MEC. So the MEC for us is an enabler for new business models, since this type of computing and networking environment allow our services to be really close to the equipment that we have to interact with. So environments like 5G Eve are not only helping us to demonstrate the feasibility of what we are doing. So we are basically demonstrating that what we implement is feasible over 5G network, but having access to the 5G Eve infrastructure, what is helping us is also to understand the transformation, the changes we have to make on our services to be able to be exploited by 5G network and environments, and to have access to the knowledge and to basically the expertise, the 5G expertise that is made available by the 5G EVE for us is fundamental, since we are an industrial company, and what we know is about our business, how to make sure that the companies reach this zero defect manufacturing, the possibility to collaborate with technology providers, with telecom operators, and with high-tech SMEs that are knowledgeable on this development of 5G technology is really critical, because this will basically mean if we will succeed or not on making this type of 5G offering for advanced quality control and Industry 4.0 services a reality in the near future. And so far we are, I guess, in the right path to achieve that objective.
Okay. And so your applications are pretty much high bandwidth, low latency, virtualization, virtual training, those types of things?
Yeah, it is mainly, Richard, connected to these ultra reliable, low latency aspects that we have to deal with, and then we are also challenging. But I would say the most challenging aspect at the moment, what we are demonstrating via 5G EVE, is the ultra reliable, low latency capabilities of the network, but also in terms of being present via 4K or high definition video and the processing of the 3D information that we are capturing with our equipment. This is also challenging the broadband aspect of the network. But if we compare ourselves with the colleagues in the cloud video processing use case that was presented at the beginning of the session, probably we are not even close to the type of requirements and challenges that these type of companies are putting on the 5G network. But for us, really, latency and being able to ensure the continuity of our remote operation of equipment is a critical aspect. To understand how far from the factories that we wish to interact with, we can really reach our customers, being confident that whatever change we make in a machine or the way in which we program our equipment to meet the needs of our customers will not fail. So for us, this reliability and low latency in the communications is critical. And as this progress in future generations, we can think on extending the type of use cases that we are piloting.
And so, but Innovelia is a company. I mean, I understand you're doing this in the context now of a research project, but do you already have an idea of specific products and specific companies that you're going to sell these to?
Yeah, well, basically we are starting extending what is our M3 platform. That is a platform that combines three key elements. So one, dealing with the machines themselves. So there are some upgrades in the connectivity aspects of these machines that will come with 5G, but for us also on the M3 side, that is the platform that is dealing with the analysis, visualization, and interaction with the information. We are also working on enhancements on these type of technologies, and the first companies that we are piloting these type of activities is the automotive sector. So the first sector we will deal with is with automotive, but we are already getting some first interest, not only from automotive sector, but from other industries. And one of the challenges that we have ahead is that we will start with very large companies, so OEMs and tier one type of companies, but this type of service is particularly useful for small, medium manufacturing companies. And still, one of the big challenges is how to make these type of services and enhancements that we will bring in our service portfolio fit for the use of a manufacturing SME with a few or tens or hundreds of workers that will have to fulfill and use this type of technology. So make sure that it is SME friendly is one of the medium long term objectives that we also have with these piloting activities.
So you're kind of in a situation like Pasquale, where you have good applications with your M3 platform already, but they're mostly for tier 1 OEMs, and you're going to need some time in the future to take advantage of the larger quantity of SMEs and provide services based on what you're already doing for the larger companies.
Yeah, I think we are all more or less taking the same strategy. So trying to push our technology in collaboration with big vendors and lighthouse factories, hoping that this will create a pull effect on the rest of the chain. So what we expect is this mixture of push-pull type of situation that will gradually take place in the market, but at least this is what we hope.
Okay, that's really so cool. I want to go over to the Mural board now, if everyone can go there. I start seeing people. Yeah, there's a couple of people coming in. If not, Alessandra, can you share your screen and guide people through the first voting thing?
Yeah, sure. So I'm setting up the voting session. So you will see here, sorry. Yeah, you will see here that in the first quadrant, we have included one question. So let's go next. So you will have now, I will click on begin voting. You will have now the possibility to select 2 of the 5 colored circles. So I see that 17 people are voting. So
yeah, I mean, I think I'd know the outcome from the discussion today, but let's see if that's true.
Let's see.
There are the KPIs. You can click on a note there, or you can go and look at the in the future. Probably won't have enough time to actually go there now, but just to go and if you're not familiar with the KPIs from the PPP, there's a link there. Of course, you can have this information and the doodle and the mural and the results of the conversation and after the end of the session. How much time do we have for voting?
We can set up 30 seconds more. I think most of the people voted.
All right. Can you show us what it looked like?
Yeah. So, do you see the results?
Yeah.
Right. So we have 7 votes for ubiquitous immersive connectivity, 5 votes for faster access, and 4 for more capacity and support very wide range of applications, and 3 virtualized network functions. And 1 voted for our project.
All right. So we've heard a bit about quite a bit about the applications that are being already built by guys like Miguel or Manuel, Eduardo, Oscar, etc. But what do you think is going to happen, let's say in 10 years' time? Can you just a quick idea of what kind of things might happen in 10 years' time? So if you see there in the mural, can you explain that, Alison?
Yes. So basically, you will see in the second quadrant here, you will see different colors of post-its that refers to the 5 different replies that you have selected. So you can just drag and drop one of those post-its to describe what would be, in your opinion, an innovative application in the next 10 years. So you just drag and drop a post-it and you write inside. Minutes here, so you can include your ideas.
Okay, a lot of interesting things coming up. Of course, you can zoom in on any one of the things using the pan and zoom thing, or you can also use the control and your mouse wheel if you have that. Or Alt and mouse wheel. Control and mouse wheel. Virtual education coming up. Collective perception of environment. I'm not sure if whoever wrote that can say what they mean by that. I'm not sure, Alessandra. Can we enable?
Yes, absolutely. You can raise your hand, and I will give you the floor.
That's an interesting idea. Do you see who's?
But I think I just talk, or you
Yes.
want me to write it down?
No, talk.
Okay. So yeah, collective perception means putting together the sensing or the data collected from all kind of sensors. For instance, from if we take our scenario of intelligent intersection, let's say, so data coming from the cars, data coming from the cameras in the intersection, data coming from mobile devices, to put them together in a unified, let's say, perception.
What kind of app would be developed, and who would buy it?
Who would buy it? So this would be applied, for instance, in the scenarios of automated driving, because there are a lot of cases where, yeah, you well know, the sensors from the car cannot perceive the full depth of the environment. So like around the corner, for instance, So this would be one application, let's say.
Ah. So you could see around the corner.
Yeah.
I get that. I totally get that, especially guys like Pasquale would probably be interested in
Yes, just to add something, Cyprian is right to the point, because in a project 5G YANA, we just follow this new challenge. This means that we start from ETSI standard definition in terms of security and safety on the road. We need to learn more about what is the next corner intersection in order to understand how the vehicle, in autonomous vehicle, but could be also in other vertical situation. But the vehicle needs more information to approach the intersection and to define the right behavior. It could be a light control, as Cyprian said before. That would be a good point of collecting data, but we need also camera on the intersection, also the smartphone, also the bicycle, or whatever is able to collect data for yourself and exchange data, share data with the other sensor or car, or also people. Why not? My smartphone could be also not only push, but also not only pull, but also push information from outside.
We have instant high-resolution images from helicopter on fire prevention. I imagine that the helicopter could be drone, and I imagine that fire prevention could be any emergency. So emergency management for things like anything from earthquakes to toxic chemical release. Who wrote this? Whoever wrote this, maybe you can say.
Eduardo, it's me. I put it on fire interventions because in fire interventions you need special images with thermo images that allow you to locate where is the fire and the points that you have to attack first because their temperature is higher. These images are of high capacity, and until now you can't send on real time, but with 5G you could do it.
Sure. And who would pay for this?
Every public administration pay for a system of fire prevention in forestal zones and rural zones. They have helicopters flying around all of the summer, searching and looking for fires to prevent them and to stop them.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of the wildfires that were raging across Australia and California last year. And one of the big things is actually getting the firefighters out there, but keeping them out of harm's way. And so trying to figure out where, meshing information like wind direction, humidity, fire, optic visualization of the fire itself to actually predict where the people should go. A drone would probably be pretty good at collecting the information, and that seems to be something that would really have high value, high public value. To keep people, make sure that evacuations happen right, make sure that firefighters get to the next probable fire outbreak place. Yeah, great idea. I think probably that's something of public utility, and public would probably pay for that.
The last summer here in Extremadura, there was a pilot with LTE technology, and it saved 3 firefighters' lives because they could see that the fire was affronting them from a position from the helicopter. They send their information in real time and they could save their lives.
We have interactive 3D digital twins. Interactive 3D digital twins For what? For cities, for machinery, for who put that in there, and what exactly would you see the digital twin of what, of the environment, of of human biological systems?
Hi, Richard. I guess that was me, Oscar.
Ah, okay. So it's machinery.
Yeah, it is industry. It is industry. So I should have put Industry 4.0 digital twins. No.
That's so boring. I was hoping
to
talk about. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, it is just that I think some of the edge applications that we are seeing with 5G today are starting to create these sort of virtual data centers where companies are looking into commissioning and faster simulation of these environments. But I guess more and more, as we have individual twins for our products and machines ready, we will need to start connecting them as we do with machines in processes. The next natural step is also to connect our digital twins with the product. We have some early demonstrations of this on the data level, but I think we need to move probably in the next years towards the networking aspects of these things. So it is not just a matter of data; it's also about how we recreate and we simulate complex 3D situations that we never want to happen on the factories, and we know they rarely happen in the factory, but we need them to be prepared for those type of events. So that is why the 3D element, that it can only happen on digital. And the interactive element, I guess it is an orchestration of these services that we are starting to build and to operate on 5G. The next step, if we can think in 10 years, we can probably imagine all those being connected and interacting one with each other in a 3D environment.
Real-time video recognition for access. You know, you could think of having like a stadium where people don't have tickets. They just have their face recognition from their cell phone or something like that. Is that what the person who wrote this is getting to? And definitely, I know mine never works. My cell phone never quite figures out that it's me. I don't know why, but maybe it's a more future application. Why do we need 5G to do that? Is that because you could have 10,000 people walking through a gate at the same time? Is the person who wrote that there? Okay. Alessandra, do you see the person who wrote that? Is there a hand up? No? Okay. No. All right. That's great. I think there's a lot of really cool ideas. We can't talk about them all, of course, because we're already over time. I'd just like to quickly go to another voting and talk a little bit about who's paying and why they're paying and how they're paying a little bit. So there's first a voting, Alessandra.
Yes, so as you can see now, I'm starting again the voting. So you will see in the third quadrant. I will just sum your attention. So you will see, are the business model in 5G the same as in 4G LTE? So you will just be asked to reply yes or no here, clicking on the green or the red reply here. So I'm putting 1 minute. This is, I think, a very quick question to reply. And then we would like to hear about if you have heard about an innovative or disruptive business model in this sense.
Doesn't look like anyone's going to vote for no.
Indeed.
So if everyone voted for yes, a couple of seconds left, we'll Oh, there's not a lot of votes. People aren't voting here. Oh, people are voting for no. A lot of people are voting for no. Okay, so I want to know about that. Okay, so the business models are probably not going to be the same as in 5G. What kinds of interesting business models might come up? All right, so for example, I was talking with Manuel at the beginning of 5G about this, and we were saying, you know, what might be really interesting from Ericsson's point of view would actually to get the data that was coming out of the experiment. So maybe someone like Ericsson might be willing to let you use equipment and test it as long as you gave them full rights to the data, right? So it would be something like pay for data, pay with your data as a new business model, you know, if you're experiment. Are there any other things like that or similar that that might jump up? So if you can think of anything like that, or pay as you go, or citizen networks paid for by taxes, or whatever. I mean, if you've heard of anything, just put it in a little yellow post-it down here in quadrant 3. I'll put in pay with your data. Are you trying to speak, Miguel? You're... No.
No, sorry. Couldn't hear you well.
So we have advanced. We actually have someone who actually took one of them away. That's okay. We have an advanced data mining, and so that's something that's a business model. So making revenue off the data on the network.
I wrote there, Richard, just because I saw something on that to start to happen in automotive sector. I mean, if you saw what we can do with FCA and Peugeot that creates Stellantis now, and FCA completely changed their focus. Okay, make car is the basic, but they start to think more about services, and services means data. data means more precision and reduce latency about the data. So more data means more much services with the final client. I don't want to buy a car in a physical point. Maybe I buy the next car will buy online, as now happen in some case. Could be also next stage of experience about automotive sector.
Yeah, I took my car. I have a BMW. I took it to just have the scheduled maintenance done. And I expected that he would already know things like how many miles I'd driven. He had tons of information, like maximum G-force, average driving speed, all of these things. He had it already on his computer because my car has
connected
a SIM card in it, and it's really uploading information that I had no idea.
Tesla do like this also. The Tesla, Tesla is like a smartphone. You receive in your Tesla the update of the software that add several features. It's not like okay, I go to the mechanical point, to the people that fix my possible failure of the car, and I stay there to update my software. Everything happen over the air, and 5G could be increased over this.
And 5G will give them so much more bandwidth. So instead of getting things like acceleration or deceleration, things like that, they can do all kinds of telemetry data real time and just.
But not only technical data, also commercial marketing data.
What store you stopped at?
Yeah, absolutely. You are part of the whole ecosystem of your car.
Starlink system of Elon Musk. What? Who wrote that? How is that going to work?
It was me again, Eduardo.
Okay.
You want to know how does it work? Are satellites, tons of satellites that, as Elon Musk said, will provide internet in all of the world. I want to see that, a faster internet connectivity.
Citizen networks paid for by the public authority. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard that, you know, slicing would allow some kinds of citizen band network. I think that's kind of interesting to see how it goes. Coverage to free coverage, yeah. So when you go to a sporting event, is this Miguel? No, I don't know. Maybe it's promotional. If you go to a restaurant, you get free.
It wasn't me who wrote that annotation, but there is definitely an interest by stadium owners in being able to provide local coverage that's somehow enhanced, so as to, for example, provide an augmented view of the match. Say you're watching live a football match there at the stadium, but you still want to watch highlights on your cell phone. Or if you're watching a Formula One race, well, you're actually watching a very small portion of the whole track. So you still want to watch live content of the event you are in. I mean, the event you're sitting in, okay? And 5G provides a much better case for this than 4G.
So over-the-top content
Yeah, but it's local over-the-top. It's content with different rights. They probably don't have the rights to stream that content outside of the physical boundary of the venue.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I went to an art show here in Bologna before the last lockdown, and there was an app provided. And as I walked around, it knew where I was and was streaming me information about the things I was looking at. And if I pointed the camera around, it would pick up different things. That's kind of the same thing. So then one hand, I was there like watching the football match. I was in the art show, and on the other, I was getting all additional content. That's cool. That's definitely cool. Bonus malus. Civic bonus malus, like in the car insurance approaches. Oh, that's cool. Civic bonus malus. So I think that, you know, if your dog makes a mess on the sidewalk, you get some kind of some kind of fine or something automatically. Instead, if you help an old lady across the street with the Cyprian system, they would see you doing that and give you a tax break. I'd like to know more about that. If this comes from a real example.
No, not really. But yeah, you wrote there the most disruptive, outrageous. So.
No, I think that's great. I think it's really great.
Yeah, and yeah, on the other hand, because yeah, you mentioned you heard about, for instance, I heard about a weighted voting system, like when you go to vote in the elections, so your vote to have a certain weight depending on some measures, let's say.
How many old people you helped across the street? If you help old people, you get 2 votes.
Yeah, yeah, why not?
Ah, I like it. I like it a lot. You know what, everyone? We've run out of time, and I really want to thank all of the 5G Eve guys for coming and explaining about 5G Eve, and but even more, I want to thank all of you SMEs for coming and participating and letting us play with your brains, let's say, and we're hoping Manuel on one side from the network of 5G test infrastructures, and Maurizio on the other for additional proposals that'll be growing out of our ecosystem and our community, and things like the UNoodle approach that he's been describing, that you'll all keep in contact with us, and that you'll continue to be part of our ecosystem, which we're hoping will grow and flourish over the next couple of years. But in any case, I really do want to thank everyone for coming and participating so actively. This doodle will be, I'm sorry, this mural will be available, and you can go in and you can look at section 4 and, you know, put some thumbs up on some of the ideas and some of the things that were discussed, or you can do thumbs down if you think, if you do anything, you can also put in additional comments. This is available for you. We'll make it available through the 5G website. This transcript, and Zoom does some really cool stuff with the transcript, will be available, the recording and the transcript of this through the 5G web portal. But so thanks again, everyone. And we'll look forward to having you at the next event. Thanks again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you also.
Have a good day. Bye. Stay safely.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.